Hello, and welcome back to the Nerdom, the podcast where we explore cult classics, hidden gems, and everything nerdy in between. And this week we're firing up another installment of our special series, Binge Worthy. Here's the setup: we pick a TV show, maybe one we've always loved, maybe one we've just been meaning to try, and we watch the first three episodes to decide once and for all, is it binge worthy? Does it grab us enough to keep watching, or are we ready to pull the plug? And this time we're dialing in from the basement office with the British sitcom classic The IT Crowd, created by Graham Linehan. The IT Crowd first aired in 2006 and quickly became a cult favorite, starring Chris O'Dowd as the perpetually lazy Roy, Richard Ayoade as the socially awkward genius Moss, and Katherine Parkinson as Jen, their boss who knows absolutely nothing about computers. The series mixes classic sitcom art, antics, and geek culture, deadpan absurdity, and the immortal line. Have you tried turning off and on again? Across three episodes, we've already had exploding desk, boardroom disasters, and a healthy dose of awkward social encounters. And now it's time to ask the IT crowd, just a nostalgic laugh track from the 2000s, or is it still one of the funniest workplace comedies out there? So grab your PC tower, check your Wi-Fi, and keep an eye on out for that fire extinguisher. Is it made in Britain? Because this week on Binge Worthy, we're logging on with IT Crowd right here on the first, the last, the Nerdom.
Yeah, and you know what,
Hey,
Tom? I
Mike.
noticed on your resume you
Yes.
had a lot about computers, so you're good. You're hired. You're hired. But yeah, before we get into the main event, that Tom so graciously announced, we are the first last nerdom. You can find us always on home base on YouTube.com/@ first last nerdom. You'll find us there. We just wrapped up last week's show, and I know that says the Dark Crystal. I'm going to refresh it here, and we'll have the one out for the Black Cauldron. So go check that out, and also some other binge worthy ones for the show's sake.
Hmm.
Um, this has been a very very fun show that we've stumbled onto that Tom had a great idea for, and I love it. And you can also find him on the something called
The
Reddit.
Reddits.
Reddit, yeah.
First Last Nerdum is my name there. I promote our stuff on Reddit subreddits that'll have me. So if you're coming from Reddit, thanks for checking us out. Love to have you, and leave a comment and let us know. But yeah, I'm also on X. I promote our stuff there. Under First Last Nerdum as well. I promote our latest episodes and anything that I find interesting. Fortunately, our beloved King Cobra passed away. He's a locale, so I did a little mention for him. So if you're a big fan of King Cobra, have a little drink in his honor this weekend, or I guess it's Wednesday now. So maybe not drink too much since it's a work week, but but yeah, keep him in your thoughts. And Mike, I think you're on Twitter as well,
Yeah, I am. I am
or
Apit.
X.
Yeah, on X, Apit_Inc. You can find me there, and occasionally me and Tom will banter back and forth. And so, if you want to check out our comings and goings or whatever, we're there. I also co-host Cafe Americana, a Sunday news show with Professor Kenny as the primary host. Check out me and Aaron Reyes as co-host. Aaron's joining us on loan from New Jersey there, the special. Also, you can find me longer form content, which I really need to write more things in this year than this past spring. But ApeIt.Ink. But as always, the main event here. What are we talking about? This thing called IT Crowd. You know, I remember going back in the lore that is Mike and Tom, where we first met each other. We met each other working tech support. You were the leader of the fun leader always. Who made sure you did what you needed to do, but in a cool way. So we kind of I remember you talking about this show back then too, and I had
Hmm.
seen it a little bit, but it just didn't quite catch my fancy. And I think it was because I was too close to doing that every day that I that I actually wanted to
It's
see it
just,
be satirized and made into a very, very crisp and clear BBC, thing. Because The Office obviously came. So standard workplace
hmm
type show. Um, Hilarious. I can appreciate it. I now have a very good appreciation of this. And we actually watched this one before we signed off last week too,
yeah.
which was like one of the best, better than probably the best Office show I'd ever guffawed at. Like, there's only been a couple like
Yeah.
where I really laughed hard at. Like,
hmm
but the pace of laughs is very good. Of course, you have to have
hmm
kind of British BBC, I don't know, absurd, dry, kind of all of the
hmm
above, atypical,
hmm
maybe kind of humor for you to appreciate this if you are American or you're not related to tech or something like that. This is the standard classic up there after I actually sat down and actually watched it. For me to get an appreciation for it, being so many years divorced from that point in life. But it's up
yeah.
there with uh, Silicon Valley is what I think of like when I think of modern startup, kind of things. And
hmm
this, in its own way, does its own thing for tech, and for work and that corporate,
hmm
kind of,
hmm
universal doldrums. Like, but this actually has like Matt Berry and some other really really talented, Chris O'Dowd and Richard Ayoade, um, you know,
hmm
that work very very
yeah.
well. Very high praise is
Yeah,
what I'm
like,
saying.
yeah, absolutely. And I've always been an Anglophile and a tech nerd. So I first discovered it on the IFC here in America, I immediately fell in love with the series. And like you said, I was at our tech job, I was going on and on about my love of the show, maybe to the exasperation of my coworkers. But yeah, it was one of those shows that immediately touched base with me. I think with tech things, with tech nerds and nerds in general. If you don't get their culture right, they rebel against it. They know inauthentic things. So when um, this show knows tech nerds, and maybe a lot of people immediately get the humor and can love the show, but for tech nerds that really know what's going on here, that live and breathe this, it really hits home with them. It's like a cult thing for them. It's just immediately clicks into your DNA of what you know about the
And
day-to-day life
and
of a tech person.
well, and weirdly too, it's so funny because I just had this thought like in the last few weeks, kind of thinking about TikTok and how do we have shorter form videos and shorter attention spans and
hmm
things, and the fact that this was only six episodes for the first series that they would call it over there, season we would call it over here. It is so
Yeah.
quick pace for you to get into. It really is
hmm
remarkable, and there is a certain kind of charm that you kind of develop your favorite kind of characters, like your favorites
hmm
or your ones. I don't like that, but and then as you get to know these, the life and the slice of life kind of thing, but comedy out
hmm
always, and I, just how
hmm
awkward all these people, all these nerds are, because every
hmm
nerd that you've ever met in your life has some kind of eccentricity, kind of side of their personality.
hmm
Nay, they might even be called a weirdo.
right.
which is what you kind of get to know about. Of course,
Mhm.
nerds, we don't see it like that.
Mhm.
So you get this wonderful kind of your favorite characters, and then some kind of pass in and out, and then you graduate on to absurdity, which you're rewarded with, which I greatly appreciate, which only could
Yeah.
be done, you know,
Mhm.
the way that this show is presented. So this this has become more near and dear to my heart. The more like I did
Hmm.
watch the American version of The Office, and I appreciate it very much. But you kind of get to kind of see throwbacks of like what this was before any of that kind of really got crazy or whatever. Like the DNA is there, I guess. Like where
Right.
you just
Yeah.
just any kind of even just corporate absurd, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it does get into sort of like, yeah, one of those corporations that you work there, but you're not really even sure what you actually do there. What this company's
Well,
there for.
well, and I'm not gonna. But we definitely had that where we worked at, and I'm not gonna say any names or whatever. But you also kind of see the
Hmm.
absurdity of personalities. And I know
Hmm.
you
Yep.
you you literally had people who sat at their desk with a some kind of a rear view mirror.
Yeah,
I'm gonna leave it
absolutely. You had
there, but that just kind of goes to like where I could see where you were drawing from like if you go watch this IT crowd, like you're gonna see this level of
right.
absurdity for certain characters that are in your own personal life,
Mhm.
like that
Yeah.
and we all have kind of have those kind of war
Mhm.
stories or
Yeah.
whatever or
Mhm.
absurd
Yeah.
kind of you know
Absolutely.
and I'm
Yeah,
not
and
not saying anything bad about that particular individual either. I'm just saying like that's just
you're
kind of
right.
like
Yeah, no.
it just
Yeah, everybody.
there's things that you come across in life that are just unique.
Yeah, and the creator of the show, Graham Linehan, he I think he said that he got this idea from it from having a PC tech guy come to work on his computer, and just his odd behavior just kind of naturally intrigued him to create a show based on these nerds. But he actually really invested in time into getting to know these tech nerds, because a lot of times in a show you may have the nerd in there, but it's a singular nerd that has his own kind of personality.
Right.
But in this show, you kind of learn different nerds. Roy is very much different than Boss.
Yep.
They're both your standard nerds, as the big guy, boss guy calls them, but they're very unique in how they approach life. And like we saw in our tech job, we were all nerds there, but there was different shades of nerd for every guy that was and gal that worked there. Very, very different. And this show kind of taps into that. You instantly know a Roy, you instantly know a Moss if you worked in a tech job, even if it's not a tech job, if it's a regular office job, you've run into characters like these. And so there's that immediacy of knowing sort of the DNA of these characters. But also there's the wonderful acting and the writing on the show. I love the aspect of the show where they'll plant a seed there, and then later on they do a callback to it that makes even bigger laugh that's built on that, and then even later they make even a bigger callback and a bigger laugh. There's the echoes of comedy throughout the episode. It's not just Stinger and just leave it there. There's like a lot of comedy there that
Right.
gets built on in each episode. And you think they've kind of drained everything out of this comedy bit, but
No.
later on they just amplify it again.
Well, and the way that okay, we watched that one show together, live streaming here, like as a let's
Yep.
watch, let's
Yeah,
play.
we watched just to let them know, we watched the first episode of the second season, The Workouting, which is arguably my favorite episode of the series. But there's a lot of great episodes, but
Someone
but
stole his wheelchair.
Sorry, I did not mean it, but no, Roy is you can tell that he has a natural charm and likability. But
Mhm,
kind of seeing him from first thing, like he just kind of doesn't really register the first episode. I mean, he kind of does. He definitely does with
mhm,
this one. Like you see kind of his, almost mean spirited, kind of, selfish would be a more
mhm.
positive way to put it, kind of
Uh-huh.
style. But also these other characters also have like they're they are part of this work corporate thing, but they're their own selves and their own selfish selves. like like I think the episode that we watched together perfectly illustrates that, as they kind of had their chemistry work together, like that thing. But
Mhm.
you still get that with the first one, and I can easily see, I don't want to spoil too much, but they that crew gets together and they get more mature as it goes down the line, and you
Mhm.
get more invested too,
Yeah.
arguably, because again, you can't
Right.
pick your favorite.
Mhm.
Whoever your favorite one you might start out with is one you might not end up
Mhm.
with, but that's kind of that's a show that
Yeah,
welcomes you on board to go through that deeper dive.
they definitely develop the characters as they go. The DNA of the characters are there at the beginning, but they explore what they are and maybe make them a little bit more absurd than they are. I love that. You immediately get who they are, like with Roy. You know, he answers the phone. Did you turn it off and on again? The famous line from the show. But then you go to Moss, and he goes, "Did you trigger an unexpected reboot?" He kind of goes the extra mile with what he does,
Right.
but to the pretty much the same effect that Roy does. And Moss
Absolutely.
has that immediate uh, nerdy charm to him. I think what Graham says is that, well, I think a lot of the what this show kind of builds upon is there's a lot of Seinfeld-esque aspects of the show, in that these are people that are kind of clueless, that maybe you may not get along with in real life, but have their kind of own unique kind of world to them. And Moss is sort of like the equivalent of Kramer in Seinfeld, in that he's sort of like in his own world, and we're just kind of peeking into it a little bit. And but Roy and Jen very much want to be a part of the bigger world. They keep wanting to get out into the bigger office, and Roy wants to date maybe some of the more attractive ladies in the office, but he has no chance, and Jen thinks maybe she has a better chance, but maybe she has less of a chance than Roy,
Right. Right.
in getting back upstairs.
Yeah. I was gonna say the yeah, Roy plays Chris O'Dowd. Maurice Moss
Mhm.
plays played by Richard. I really
And, yeah.
love his character. He just like he they have little tells, like where and I wouldn't know this, but I did read a little bit and cheat a little bit, but like he does switch glasses when he's scheming. Like like
Yeah.
I mean, he uses inhalers, like a typical nerd, like but
Yeah.
it is just kind of funny how they all kind of play off each other too. Like that's the thing. Like, and I
Mhm.
love that Jen
Yeah.
Barker, like her character, that's Katherine Parkinson. She's
Mhm.
like she's kind of dumb with computers, but she's got it on her resume, like which I was joking with Tom before, which is there.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I send emails. I receive emails.
but it's funny though
Yeah,
because there
I
is
can
a
write
certain a
emails.
little
Yeah.
well a little bit
Mhm.
of technology that I get from her, like she bluffs.
Right. Yeah.
But and I swear to God, there is not one tech
Mhm.
job or role or interview that didn't have some kind of bluffing or whatever.
Right.
Like
Absolutely.
sometimes it like it goes down like a train wreck. Goes down like
Right.
a.
Absolutely.
But that is hilarious though too. Like where you're in a
Mhm.
meeting with like people, and if the business person over to your right or whatever knows quite a bit more than the person that is supposed to be leading the like there's just
Yeah.
all these kind of things that are mashed together, like which we all have our own versions of them, but
Mhm.
just the absurd also, which is what I appreciate very much about this too, like and
Mhm.
the thing is that every time you think you dial into like where you see something like not off-putting but absurd, you can
Mhm.
tell like this is just gonna ratchet it up. Like the more you stick to it, you can just kind of tell. I don't know about
Yeah,
you, but like that's I
right.
haven't seen all these, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
this is going to be
absolutely. This
consumed and enjoyed upon, just like I really, really loved Toast of London. I really took
Mhm.
a good fancy to it, as the British would say. But
Yeah. Yeah, I only had time, yeah, to watch. We watched that episode in the series, but yeah, I only had time to rewatch the first three episodes of these, and I immediately I didn't have time, but I really wanted to watch that next episode. It was like, it's one of those things where your favorite bag of chips, you want to keep eating them. You can't stop. I must have a little bit more. And
well,
with the first three episodes, the first two episodes are amazing. I love them. The third episode's not quite as
it's
good,
all right. It's all right.
but yeah, it's all right. But it's if you put that as the first episode of any other series, it would have been amazing.
Sure.
But the fact that the first two are so amazing, so bangers, and they hit every single second. The fact that that episode didn't quite hit every single moment made it a little bit lesser, but again, in any other series it would be like top notch. It just shows you the quality of the series.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I that's just the
Gotta
thing. Like,
break out my tropical 7 Up.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm gonna get that. I got that on my grocery list like for like the last 6 months. But
Yeah.
I got it this week. I've got it this week. But all joking aside, there, a little Tom Schneider
Mhm.
to Tom.
Yeah, zero sugar I got, but they do have if you want your sugar, you can get that. This is actually really tasty. I'm not usually into sugar-free things, but this is good.
Yeah, you have this shyness to IT people, um,
Yep.
unless they feel very comfortable if the stage has to do with technology, and then you
Hmm.
know you like how the series was set up, like this quirky IT PC repair guy is gonna fix my stuff, and then you kind of see that. But we're coming from Garth Marenghi's universe,
Hmm.
with Ayoade, there,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, it just shows you the range that he could do. You could do the clueless boss to the the guy that the clueless uh,
well,
tech guy
well,
down in the basement.
and it's implied, and I'm gonna use modern day language, but he is, him doing, his Moss performance, or he did Cambridge Footlights. That was the music video? I think that he did. But anyway, he's you know he plays a IT character. This person, like, maybe they're on the spectrum. Let's put that way. But he does it with
Yeah.
but he does it with a dignity, and like where you want to laugh with him and not at him. Necessarily, like,
Mhm.
for those stereotypes. So again, like, these are kind of things like where you can play sensitive topics and things like with quality, without.
Yeah, he also has this kind of lounge late night. There's series that's about this kind of lounge late night host guy. That's also really good. That maybe we could visit at one point. But I think
Absolutely,
it's
yeah.
only one series kind of thing. But yeah, Richard, he's Matt Berry's maybe my top guy, but Richard is like right up there, very a few inches below him. His portrayal of Moss is excellent. I love his hair, sort of maybe the Tetris kind of a piece of a hair, with that big wedge cut out of it. With his little dress shirt and with short sleeves and tie. I mean, it's a classic look. What nerd have you not seen at one point dressed like that? Yeah, and Roy with his trying to be hip with his fashionable hip t-shirts and all the toys around them. Yeah, one of the fun things of looking around in the office is spotting out all the cool little technology, the Commodores, the Atari stuff, the
Right.
all the
little
tech stuff that's around them. Yeah,
fan
and then
service,
also
maybe a little bit. I don't know, nerd service,
right.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, absolutely. All the toys. It looks like they got a lot of stuff on Fantagraphics. I noticed the Frank Jim Woodering's Frank poster of the character Frank behind Roy in a lot of the scenes, and the Hate comic book stuff in there. Yeah, a lot of stuff I recognize, some things I don't, but yeah, it's always fun to look at all the stuff on the shelves behind them to try to figure out what they are, and thinking,
And
I would love to have a little that on my shelf, you know.
well, and you know, kind of going back to your Seinfeld reference, really too. There are some characters that that is the audience, essentially, like trying to
Mhm.
navigate these people. You know, that
Yeah,
that can
yeah. If you'd run
arguably.
into these in real life,
Well,
yeah,
right, and and,
it's
and
like,
and that character per se, what I just laid out for Seinfeld was uniquely Jerry and George. You know, like between
mhm.
them, you got essentially the thing. Jen, Katherine Parkinson, she plays that Jen. She really is the one that is kind of the audience, the surrogate, the normal person, like with these, you know, the albeit with a little bit delusional,
Mhm.
takes for her
Yeah.
ability to navigate certain situations. But but that's the beautiful part about, like, the trap is going to happen or whatever. But like,
Mhm.
okay, but how is
Yeah,
she going to respond? And they
yeah.
do. And again, all these characters are very selfish, right? Like
Uh-huh.
they look after themselves, but they also kind of like see some kind of a friend spirit, like, which is that very Seinfeld-esque kind of like,
Mhm. Yeah.
I'll see you later.
Right. Yeah, and another thing about Seinfeld is that a lot of the episodes of Seinfeld, from what I understand, both Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David, they would ask the writers about what weird things they've experienced in real life. A lot of the comedy of Seinfeld was based off of real life things, real life experiences. Like the Festivus tree was based off of a one of the writers' real thing that his father or someone in his family actually did. And they just kind of amped it up and amplified it for the episode, and it became legendary. Much like that, I think I've read and I do have them in box set for the IT crowd, but unfortunately is in storage, so isn't able to get access to that. But there was a lot of commentary on that, and from what I remember, Graham based a lot of the episodes on real life experiences and things that could happen in real life, but then just kind of explore it to its comedy depths or greatness. Much like the third episode where Roy accidentally gets a little bit of chocolate on his forehead, and it gets his girlfriend or his date mistakes it for a little bit of shit being on his forehead, and it just kind of goes from from there. Something that might happen on a real date, and then they just explore it for all the comedy gold that they can mine it for. That's sort of like the special ingredient of this show is that it's very relatable stuff that you could see happening in real life, but then they go to the absurd links that they can go and just kind of build off of it, so you immediately have that connection to the characters and what could happen, and then when they take it that those few steps above reality, you're there for the ride. It's just all based in reality, so it all makes sense to you.
well, well, I mean, if you were to distill it down, okay, and this goes in the same boat with the Office, the U.S. version and the BBC, the UK version.
Uh-huh.
The core satire is of corporate incompetence, and more
Mhm.
importantly, alienation. Like where like you have people that are there to do their job. They're essential
Mhm.
workers. But that core there, it never leaves, because if you weren't there, then the shit would break.
Right,
like
yeah.
it's a metaphor for everyone who keeps society running, but gets no respect.
Hmm.
Rodney Dangerfield,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, all the people in the basement are, yeah, vital to the running of the company, but yeah, like I said, they don't get respect. And Roy, the charm of Roy is that, he does have it what it takes. He actually has the charm, but he doesn't have the confidence. He's constantly, like with the first episode. By
Right.
the end of it, they have an office party that that Jen invites all the people down, and she's going to build up the IT group to make them acceptable, make
Right.
them part of the office. And Roy
kind of
finds his
kind of big
groove, and he's,
sister, kind of like these
yeah.
these guys do so much better than what they're doing, but I gotta help them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and Roy, he's got it. He's got his confidence up. He's actually winning the crowd over, and then he has to step away, and hands it over to Moss to tell the story. And unfortunately, Moss tells him the wrong story that he's supposed to never tell. and uh, and about the time that they were in Amsterdam, he tells them about the wrong time where they accidentally they hire some prostitutes. And what I love about the show
Right.
is that's kind of a funny story that ends up, alienating them completely from the office. But then in the credits, I love how in the credits there's kind of a callback to something from the episode.
Right.
And in this episode, there's they in Amsterdam they take these prostitutes to a kind of a fair, county fair thing, and there's pictures from the county fair of them with the prostitutes, and I mean that's hilarious. I mean, yeah, just it's a chef's kiss at the end of the
Well,
the episode. It would have been fine without that, but with it's perfection.
well, and the thing too that I think that it goes into what I was saying before too is like as you get to know these characters, the jokes hit different. Like when you know the characters, and then you can see like when Moss comes through with a technical explanation or whatever, it becomes even funnier. Like when you get his
Absolutely.
personality, and not just what
Uh-huh.
he's saying. Like that. That's where
Hmm.
Roy's laziness becomes more logic than you see because it's
Hmm.
defensive more than it's mean spirited or
Hmm.
malicious. Like
Yep.
he's just he's just trying to get through the day like anybody else, like any other poor schlub,
Hmm.
like that kind of pulls
Yep.
you back to that
Absolutely.
center. Right, right, right.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I love about it, I've seen the whole series. There's four seasons or series of it, and then they were supposed to do a fifth season series, but the actors had gone on to do other things, and they just couldn't pull everybody back in time to do a full season. So they did do a special episode, an hour and a half long episode that kind of caps everything off. I love the whole series. Spoiler alert, I love it. It is definitely binge worthy. Um, and what was fun, what revisiting those first three episodes is that you see callbacks to later episode of things that they explore further.
Right.
Like in the third episode,
Mm.
they're with the security guard, and he brings up the big game last night, and Roy and Moss trying to get along with the security guy that they have no real connection to, and they clearly don't get into sports, and they're trying to get into these sports talk with this guy. And in a later episode from another season, they explore that whole sports thing much further. There's so much gold that can be mined from that, but there's all these little nuggets you see that they explore later on in the series. That yeah, that's what I love about this show and British shows is that the seasons or series are only like six
Right.
episodes. So there's not a lot
It's a
there
quick.
as far as
Right.
quantity.
Right.
But they distill everything down. Everything's in there. I think if you did like a 20 episode season of this,
It wouldn't
you would
work.
dilute it. You would make it. There'd be a lot more kind of just okay and average shows.
Well, it literally is 24 shows for the 6
Uh huh.
years that you get. if you were to try to
Uh-huh.
take those and put them in a standard 22 episode, it wouldn't. No, no. And I was going to go back to what you were
Mm.
saying. Um,
Uh-huh.
to answer the question, is this binge worthy? Yes. That's all caps. Yes. Exclamation mark, whatever. Like the IT crowd
Hmm.
delivers exactly what you think it would promise. Workplace dysfunction, incompetence, alienation,
Hmm.
you know, but it has that dysfunctional comedy with that British sensibility that you were talking about. Exactly.
Hmm.
I just wanted to reaffirm that. There is, you can't help but have genuine affection for certain characters. Again, you start out with like this one character you really like, but then maybe you end up a little bit more over here after you've seen a few and can
Hmm.
develop like an opinion. But
Hmm.
like you were saying, the first three episodes prove that it knows what it's doing, and it executes
Hmm.
that flawlessly. Like that is the thing. It becomes its own comfort food. Like for like you know I don't know. But Tom, have you tried turning it on and off
Off
again?
and on again, yeah.
But leave it on and keep it on, and you will find something to love or to glom onto that you'll like. That's my
Yep.
verdict.
Yeah, and I know in our thumbnail, Matt Berry's there, but if you watch the first three episodes, you're maybe going, "Well, where's Matt Berry?" You know, if you haven't seen the series before,
Wait,
he comes in on the second series. So yeah, hang in there if you're a Matt Berry fan. Things get wilder and crazier with Matt Berry in the second series. Excellent. And I will shout out, she's probably yeah, most of the talk comes from Chris O'Donnell and Richard Ayoade and Matt Berry and Noel Fielding that comes in later as Richmond, the server guy in the closet. But you gotta the underrated underdog is definitely Katherine Parkinson as Jen. She's a gem as Jen. A lot of times people say, women aren't really good with comedy, but Katherine Parkinson is absolute gem in this series. I can't imagine anyone else in the role. She's just comedy gold. I love her in the series. Great stuff by her.
absolutely, yeah. No, very good. And it's out on Tubi if you didn't get that from our sharing the last
Yeah.
bit, but and that'll be in the show notes as well to go check out.
Mhm.
So very accessible for free, literally for free. Maybe you got to see a
Yep.
couple of
Yep.
things here there, but it's more than
Yep.
better than not. But um,
Yeah, a lot of our binge worthy shows are on Tubi, and we may
great
be
platform too.
yeah, yeah, and great way to watch it. But yeah, Tubi is definitely underrated. Yeah, we'll definitely yeah, Tubi's its subreddit is also a nice place to kind of promote these things. I will say, some people may be out there, kind of grumbling under their breath. I am aware of Graham Linehan's his social media. I know some people he's very he's very much like J.K. Rowling in his opinions, and some people are very much opposed to what he says, and very controversial figure outside of the shows that he makes. So I understand why some people may not be attracted to his stuff because of what he said. But I can separate the person from the show,
Right.
and it's kind of comes down to the individual. I don't really care about what about that stuff. I could take the show for what it is, and what it is comedy gold. So, if you have to kind of discount the show because of that, that's on you. But you're missing out on a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. This is one to watch and treasure as it goes on. But this is I take it that's a yes from you for binge worthy.
Absolutely,
Obviously. Yeah.
absolutely.
No. I
Yeah, it's sometimes when you revisit a show, a show that you hold dear and love, sometimes it's a bad thing to go back to it because you realize oh, that comedy really doesn't work there. Oh yeah, maybe that doesn't match what I remember. That's not as good. But this show,
Right.
it was yeah, it was absolutely a joy rewatching it. And again, like I told you, I didn't want to stop at episode 3. I wanted to keep going, and in fact, I'm sure I will. This is one of those shows that I'm going to go through again, and it's one of those shows where you get to the end of it, and maybe you want to go back to the beginning again.
Absolutely, yeah, no, 100%. Go check it out, and
Mhm.
I've been Mike.
I'm Tom. Is it plugged in?
On, on. No, it's
You
not.
know, the button, the shiny button.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you from the past? Seriously,